In this lesson, we'll create a 3D structure similar to one that would be created for the design of piping or bent tubing. We'll create the necessary geometry using a 3D sketch, and we'll add the necessary dimensions and sketch relations to fully define the structure. To begin, let's create a new 3D sketch using the 3D sketch icon from the sketch toolbar. I'll use the line tool and create a segment beginning at the origin and running along the X direction. When using 3D sketches, I recommend you pay attention to the length feedback next to your pointer. In this case, I want this segment to be 12 inches long. I'll use the feedback to make sure I'm close to this value. Not exactly 12 inches, but close. This will make it much easier to define the sketch later using dimensions and geometric relations. When the segment is completed, you can see it in Properties in the Property Manager. Next, I'll sketch a segment in the Y direction about 8 inches long. The next segment will be in the Z direction, so I'll press the Tab key to make the YZ orientation active. You'll see the YZ feedback next to your pointer, and if you pass it, keep pressing Tab until it reappears. The segment will be approximately 6 inches in the Z direction. Next, we're going in the X direction, so I'll press Tab to activate the ZX orientation and sketch a segment approximately 6 inches long. Next, I'll create a segment in the Z direction about 5 inches long, followed by a 5-inch segment in the X direction. Now, I'll create a small segment in the Z direction and then switch to the XY orientation to create a line in the Y direction. To finish the structure, I'll sketch a segment in the X direction about 12 inches long. Now that the shape of the structure is finished, let's add some definition to it. As you can see right now, it's mostly blue, meaning it is underdefined. I'll begin by adding some geometric relations, starting with the two long segments in the X direction. I would like for these to be collinear. I also want the two vertical segments to be equal. Instead of the equal relation, I can accomplish the same relation by selecting the upper endpoints of the segments and choosing the along X relation. Adding dimensions in 3D sketches is a little bit different than in a 2D sketch. I'll launch the Dimension tool and select these 2 points. When I do, SolidWorks displays the vector magnitude or point-to-point length between the points. If I press the Tab key, you can see I have the ability to add dimensions in a single direction. The cursor feedback lets me know which direction the dimension is being applied in. I can toggle using the Tab key and dimension along the X, Y, or Z axis, along with the point-to-point or overall length. This makes adding dimensions to 3D sketches easy and intuitive. Also, notice that the dimension text is oriented on the screen with respect to the plane that it's being added in. This not only helps keep the graphics area looking clean, but also makes it easy to identify exactly which sketch entity or direction a dimension is controlling when you're making edits. I'll quickly delete this dimension and instead add a 1-inch dimension to the smallest segment of the sketch. Next, I'll define the gap between the two vertical segments, and I'll set it to 2 inches. Both horizontal segments at the bottom will be 12 inches. And the two longer segments in the top portion will be 6 inches. As you progress with defining a 3D sketch, remember you can always stop and drag the remaining blue geometry to find out what remains underdefined. I recommend you do this more in 3D sketches than in 2D sketches. The reason is that in 3D sketches, it's possible to add many relations that are redundant or unnecessary. Rather than adding relation after relation, check to see what else you really need to define. In this case, you can see I can drag the blue geometry up and down, so I need to put in the 8-inch vertical dimension. This makes the sketch fully defined. To complete this example, I'll add some fillets to break the sharp corners. And finally, I'll create a circular profile on a new 2D sketch to sweep along the 3D path. The diameter I'll use is 0.4 inches.